Okay, so my part of the project for the Pioneers team was to work on the SQL database, getting that information back and forth between the phone. So Nick set up the IoT hub and started getting stuff connected to the SQL database, and really helped me set up part of this too. So I'm working right here, Nick was working right here, and I decided to draw the UI separate from the phone since we're doing some logic right here, but that's being done by Eben and Nate. So my contribution to this project so far has been printing out the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's really all I've needed to do so far. So my objective was to be able to connect to our database through Android Studio somehow, and that somehow took many hours to figure out. So what I did is I initially thought I would set up a MySQL database. So I started doing the table and the layout here. So I put some tables in here. Incoming would be information coming right from Nick. So we'd be checking that every once a minute or so. And then we'd process it and move it into received. And at the end of every day, we'd average that out and put in history. That way we don't take up too much space on the database. So that's the plan there, and I have the tables outlined for that. So I guess that was part of my work as well. So I went ahead and I developed this script here to put some dummy data into the table, like so. And then the thought was I would be able to just run Android Studio and update this database. That didn't turn out to be the case, so I went back to good old NetBeans to figure out how it works. I was able to get this script running okay. So that would indeed insert 84 into our MySQL database, as can be seen at the bottom there. But there were a lot of weird errors getting that happen in Android Studio, and I quite wasn't able to get it. By the end of it, I thought it would probably have to do something with the fact that this is running off of localhost. I'm running the MySQL server on my own machine, and maybe the Android emulator can't see it. But I tried literally about everything to get this MySQL to work. So what I ended up opting for was working with Nick because he had an Azure database already set up, so that's through SQL Server. So we ended up just using that one instead, and we were running into issues. We talked with you in your office hours about the firewall there. I'm currently working from home. I was actually just kicked out of the lab. So working from home, it worked. I had to do some work with what I was given though. So what I ended up having to do, so after this whole MySQL mishap, which took up all of yesterday night, we ended up opting for this and working with SQL Server. But you can't just do JDBC SQL Server because of something with SSL. I figured that one out as well tonight. You need to use JTDS, which is kind of like a middleman from my understanding. So what we're able to do then is connect to the database using this. So here's the information we set up for Nick's account, and we're able to set up a connection there. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I was talking about earlier, it was verifying that we could get through all those steps without any issues, and that happens. I thought I would hopefully have more time. However, I have to get up to deal with kids for the expo tomorrow. So, in the words of a CSSE faculty candidate, anyone can write a SQL statement. So the SQL statement we're giving it is just a semicolon right now, just for demonstration purposes. So if we go ahead and run this, it will in fact, amazingly somehow connect to the database and receive a response without any errors. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't really worry about the UI at all. Just a hello world UI. I'm just doing everything through the console right now, seeing as that's Nate and Evan's job. So how did I get here? I had to add in the module for JTDS. It's kind of like adding an external jar, then adding that to the Gradle build script as well. to build that into our project. What I was given before was this MS SQL JDBC connector. However, that doesn't work because of mishaps with SSL. So we had to opt for JTDS instead. So going forward from here, what I've done is I've been able to connect to the database successfully, and I have an idea for what tables we want. Over in my SQL, I have to transfer this over to Nick's Azure database. So that should be all set and ready to go. So we'll put the tables in there, and then we should be able to start feeding this data back and forth and work on the logic between the database and the phone. So